Salut tout le monde, bienvenue dans cette nouvelle émission donc de Live Scalping. Alors aujourd'hui, comme bien entendu, on se retrouve chaque mercredi pour enregistrer des séances et des sessions de trading live sur le scalping, sur le Dow Jones. Donc vous êtes maintenant habitués. Je suis François Ablé, donc responsable donc du GSTA, trader actif également. Alors aujourd'hui, comme d'habitude, on se retrouve pour faire le live scalping, mais j'ai un peu pris du retard parce que je me suis connecté, je pense, il est maintenant 9h45, heure du Canada. Donc, j'ai pris l'ouverture du marché à 15 minutes de retard. Donc, je ne vais pas trop tarder. Bien sûr, n'hésitez pas à vous abonner à cette chaîne, donc le GSTA Global Street Trader Academy, ou aussi à voir aussi notre canal YouTube, notre chaîne YouTube où l'on poste des vidéos du même type et du même contenu, ou aussi à visiter notre site internet qui est le www.gstacademy.com. Donc, vous abonner à la newsletter pour recevoir donc votre e-book gratuit. Allez, donc c'est parti, je vais commencer donc à faire le trading. Alors aujourd'hui, je vais vous montrer rapidement ce qui se passe parce que les indices ont fait des plus hauts. Donc, on est arrivé sur des sommets qui sont assez importants. J'avais dessiné donc un biseau d'élargissement il y a de cela plusieurs semaines. Et vous savez, les biseaux d'élargissement, ce sont des structures qui sont très difficiles à transiger. Alors, comme vous le voyez à l'écran, attendez, je vais déplacer mon écran. Voilà. Donc, vous voyez, sur une vue de long terme, je vais mettre en H4, c'est plus intéressant. Voilà. Donc, sur le H4, vous voyez ici, donc la bande rouge qui est là, ça c'est la résistance oblique qui part depuis d'ici. Et on a aussi la bonne, le support oblique aussi qui est en vert, qui est ici. Donc, ça a dessiné une structure d'élargissement. Et on voit ici que on a vraiment touché pile poil ici avant de faire un retracement, mais on a cassé on a brisé une ligne de tendance intermédiaire qui a commencé depuis le début du mois de cette année de 2018, donc de janvier. Donc, on a brisé cette ligne qui est en gris. Donc, a priori, le dos est sur un momentum correctif. Donc, on va travailler sur des mouvements correctifs aujourd'hui en scalping. On peut le voir également si je me remets en 5 minutes pour scalper. Voilà. Donc, on a cassé, on a fait un léger throwback et là, on repart encore vers le bas. Donc, le mouvement continue à baisser. Attendez, je vais ajuster un peu mon écran. Voilà, comme ça, pour pouvoir travailler. Et vous voyez également aussi qu'au niveau des points pivots en données horaires, on a cassé violemment, on a travaillé à plusieurs reprises le support 1, le support 2 qui a été brisé. Donc, a priori, on se dirige vers le support 3. Donc, ce matin, je vais scalper, bien sûr, à la baisse sur le Dow Jones. Donc, les signaux sont plus ou moins baissiers sur le Dow Jones. Donc, c'est parti. On va commencer donc cette séance. Euh, Comme vous le savez, avec le scalping, avec le broker FXCM sur le Dow Jones est un peu particulier. Donc, c'est plus ou moins du mi-scalping, mi-day trading parce que le slippage est un petit peu fatigant. On se fait exécuter très vite. Et aussi, le spread aussi est très, très élevé. Donc, quand je prends des positions, c'est vraiment pas pour prendre 2 ou 3 points, ça ne vaut pas la peine. C'est au moins pour aller chercher au moins 9, 10, 15 points. Donc, c'est entre du scalping et du day trading. Donc, c'est de l'intraday en fait. Voilà. Donc, je vais remettre ma caméra là où est-ce qu'elle était. Voilà. Et je vais commencer donc cette session.
This is the Countdown to the Open. I'm Alex Steele. Still with me is Bloomberg's Michael McKee. Mike, we discussed the State of the Union. Now, what are we watching for the Fed in the next 48 hours and Treasury?
From the Fed, we're obviously watching Janet Yellen's last decision and whether they change the statement. No move on rates, but will they strongly suggest that we get something in March, either by saying that or saying that inflation is showing signs of rising? So that'll be capturing a lot of attention tomorrow. And also tomorrow, we get the Treasury refunding announcement. Government's going to have to sell a lot more debt now that we're doing tax cuts and the additional government spending. So who's going to buy it? That's the question for the markets out there. Are the Chinese still in? Are Americans going to step up? The Fed is also paying down its balance sheet, creates more room that has more money that has to be sold. So a big issue for the markets coming up.
I'm very excited about the Treasury refunding. Like, who knew that was going to be the excitement, this study event for me this week? Bloomberg's Michael McKee, thanks very much. Always great to see you. All right, we're nearly 25 minutes into the session. Let's get a check on the markets. A sell-off underway in the Dow, off by 270 points, off by 1%. The S&P also almost off by 1%, with healthcare, energy, and industrials leading the way. Higher bond yields, weaker dollar. That does it for Bloomberg Markets, the open. Bloomberg Markets up next.
Donc, je regarde le niveau de 26 150 pour pouvoir me positionner à la baisse pour pouvoir shorter. J'attends donc si le mouvement du prix en fait à ce niveau-là me donne en fait un point d'entrée aux alentours des 26 150. Parce que là, ce matin, c'est clair qu'on est dans un correctif baissier. Donc, je chercherai à travailler à la baisse en lot régulier, c'est-à-dire en lot que j'utilise souvent pour trader. Sinon, si on doit avoir des impulsions haussières aussi, si c'est faisable dans les correctifs baissiers, je vais aller en lot inférieur à la taille régulière que j'utilise souvent pour trader. Donc, comme vous comprenez, quand je suis dans le sens du marché, je vais avec le nombre de lots que j'ai l'habitude de prendre. Et quand je suis en fait, quand je suis contre tendance, je vais avec un lot très très inférieur. C'est pour limiter en fait mes risques de perte. Donc, ça fait partie des stratégies de money management. Donc là, je sortais.
It's 10 a.m. in New York, 3 p.m. in London, and 11 p.m. in Hong Kong. From New York, I'm Bonnie Quinn.
And live from London, I'm Mark Barson. Welcome to Bloomberg Markets.
We've got healthcare, we've got State of the Union, lots of news in the next 2 hours. But first, we want to get to some breaking economic data. Bloomberg's Julie Hyman has that. Yes, consumer confidence, Bonnie, coming in ahead of estimates. This is the data from the Conference Board. 125.4 is the reading here. That's above the 122.1 from December and 123 that economists had been estimating here. We have continued to see pretty consistently high consumer confidence ratings and those beating estimates. So this number is no different. Part of that has to do with the rally that we have been seeing, or should I say perhaps had been seeing in U.S. stocks, as well as, of course, the expanding economy and the job market as well. But we've got a two-day pullback now in stocks here in the United States. The one-day pullback and the two-day pullback, for that matter, in the S&P 500 is the worst that we have seen since March. A lot of it does have to do with what's happening in healthcare. We have some disappointing earnings this morning as well, so all of that combining. But let's talk about healthcare, shall we? We've got this now agreement between Amazon, JP Morgan, and Berkshire Hathaway to provide health insurance for those companies' employees, which number some 1.1 million total in the United States. It's unclear exactly what the details of this internal healthcare plan will look like, but it is putting some serious fear into the health insurance industry, especially because Amazon is involved. As we have seen over the past year or so, every time there's a whisper of Amazon getting into a new business, whether you're talking about groceries or rumors about an entry into healthcare, we have seen stocks in those industries fall
Là, j'ai
because
shorté.
Amazon is seen as such a dire
On a eu un petit
competitive
mouvement
threat
de
for them.
retracement
Aetna reported its
pour
earnings today.
aller
Remember, it's in the
chercher
process of being acquired by
le
CVS,
niveau des
but those shares are down. Anthem,
26
Cigna, United Health. And then speaking of
170.
CVS, we also have the various pharmacy companies that are falling in today's session as well. CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid are
Peut-être une
falling
entrée
because
un
will
peu
there then be a
agressive.
supply
On va
chain
peut-être
issue
dû
or
attendre.
concern or competitive threat from this new venture as
De
well?
toute façon, même si
Finally, take a
j'attendais
look
que
at
le
the
mouvement
Bloomberg, because
soit
we have
retracé,
seen
je
healthcare
n'allais
as one of
pas
the leading
être
groups
exécuté
in the
au
S&P
point
500. It's the
où
white
je
line
voulais
here.
parce que
Tech is the
à
purple
cause du
line,
spread et
and you can
du
basically see that
slippage.
it
Donc,
peaked out. Now we've seen this sharp
même si j'attendais
decline
ici pour
today, so we'll see
pour
if that
shorter ici,
continues
ils allaient
as we
peut-être
get more
m'exécuter ici.
details on this venture. Mark?
Donc, bon.
Julie, 90 minutes left until the end of the
Mais ça
Tuesday
aurait pu
session.
quand même limiter un
WMGO
peu
is
les
the
risques.
function.
J'aurais pu
Stocks
mettre
are
mon
lower
stop
down for the
au-dessus de la
fourth day
ligne
in
orange.
five, lowest level since January the 11th today. Want to show you the Euro Stocks 50 versus some of its peers. The strength of the euro definitely weighing on this benchmark European share gauge. The blue line is the MSCI All Country World Index. All these other three indices, the yellow line clearly is the Euro Stocks 50, which is up by roughly 4%. The other three gauges, the MSCI Asia Pacific Index, the MSCI All Country, and the S&P 500, the white line, rising between 7 and 8% because of the euro's gains to their highest level since December 2014, as the EC policy update on Thursday failed to rein in recent gains. So yes, global equities are rising, but some bourses faring better than others. Let's get to the data today here in the Eurozone, or in the Eurozone, the economy finishing off last year with another quarter of robust growth. Confidence among businesses, households suggest there's certainly no slowdown in sight. GDP rising 0.6%. That's the blue bar right there, bang in line with estimates. 19 straight quarters of expansion. The strong end to the year put the region's 2017 expansion at 2.5%. Better than expected by economists, better than expected by the ECB. And it's a pace the region, by the way, hasn't seen since before the financial crisis in 2008. Busy day for corporate news. The earnings season is well underway here as well. SAP shares are down by 2.5%. It's agreed by California-based Calendar Software. The price $2.4 billion. Biggest acquisition for SAP in roughly 3 years. It's seeking to bolster its cloud-based business that did grow in the fourth quarter. Operating profit, though, narrowly missed estimates. Sales did beat estimates, met estimates, excuse me, due to the uptake of its flagship software business. Bill McDermott, the chief executive, has been expanding cloud-based services, Vonnie, to challenge rivals such as Salesforce and Oracle, and also serve clients using the software to run sales, manufacturing, and human resources functions. SAP today, Vonnie, down by 2.6%.
Well, Mark, it's a triple threat. Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, and JP Morgan teaming up to create a healthcare company. The service will only be available, at least for now, to the corporate giants' combined 1.2 million employees.
Donc là, je viens de protéger ma position.
Falling on the
Et si le
news,
marché me
demos
m'exécute, je sortirai quand même légèrement en gain. Sinon, je vais laisser bien sûr ma position courir jusqu'à plus bas pour aller chercher peut-être mon take profit. Donc là, j'ai plus besoin d'être stressé. Je laisse ma position courir.
To stop this company.
Amazon's clearly a real powerhouse in the digital space and the online space. And their acquisition of Whole Foods is a game changer for them.
The real risk here to the incumbent payments players like Visa and PayPal and MasterCard is that Amazon decides to build its own PayPal.
Amazon has been great, all the things they've done, but what we can't do is sit idly by and allow them to take our business. This company, I think, could double from here to $2,000 per share.
They are going to be a force. They're going to be a force in content. They're going to be a force in search. As I said, 55% of US product searches we calculate are initiated on Amazon. And then last but not least on advertising.
Wherever Amazon is bumping up against the other three, it's winning. On product search, it had 44% share, 44% share in 2015. Now it's 55. Where it's bumping up against Apple and voice, 70% share of voice in the home. Where it's bumping up against Apple and media was number 7 in percentage of share during prime time. Now it's number 3. Fastest growing media group. It's literally kicking the butt of Siri in full view of everyone. Amazon's our first $1 trillion market cap company.
All right, with what this entity might mean for the street and for clients. Joining us, BMO analyst Matthew Bourchon.
Donc là, vous voyez que le marché vraiment est venu taper mon take profit, mais j'ai pas été exécuté parce que à cause du slippage et du spread, comme je vous avais dit tout à l'heure, c'est ça qui est un peu difficile avec pour scalper sur les indices, mais c'est pas grave. J'ai bien pris ce mouvement. On m'a été exécuté ici quand j'avais avancé mon stop. Donc c'était une très bonne position, très beau gain d'environ $150. Donc, comme je dis ce matin, c'est très difficile donc de travailler à la hausse sur le dos parce qu'on est a priori dans le même mouvement baissier. Donc, je vais certainement attendre une autre position.
So this is a wait and see, but I will say that the language of the press release suggested to me that managed care could be part of what they are targeting. I'll give you one example. It would be when they talk about a new company free from the constraints of seeking profit. That comes closer to describing something that's differentiated from managed care, which is where the public for-profit companies are more than 50% versus the hospitals, which is 80% not-for-profit.
I just want to show our viewers the managed care index today. It is down 4.6%, and it was down a lot more earlier on. That's just today's, and then over time you can see that managed care has been on a tear, but it's actually dropping like a stone today. Those are the main companies that potentially could be targeted. This isn't the first time that a group of companies has come together to try and improve what's being seen as a very dismal sort of healthcare industry in the United States that's not, being helped along by the government and that's not really taking its problems into its own hands. Have previous efforts worked at all, Matthew?
Well, not really. I mean, although to be fair, it's been, I think it was my recollection, quite a while since we've seen something, like this. And I think we've never seen something backed with this kind of potential firepower. So really the question is, what are they at the end of the day aiming to do? Are they making this into something bigger than it's actually going to be, or are they, really going to enter a lot of managed care, maybe PBM along with that? And it may be that they make a reference in the press release to in due course in terms of the timing, that they leave that undefined for some significant period of time. And so the impact in that case is going to be the uncertainty potentially weighing on investor sentiment.
Matthew, given we don't know so many details, a lot of it's speculation, but, if you're in the industry, if you're in the healthcare industry, Julie showed the stocks, how they're reacting today. Which sort of company should be quivering the most?
Well, that also is hard to say. I mean, if I look at if I look at the companies that I cover, and they're really the ones I can speak to, that 8 public managed care companies, and then some of the hospitals and providers. First of all, I think the hospitals and providers are likely less likely to be impacted by this, given the way this announcement is set up, at least. Among the managed care companies, maybe you're shaking in your boots if you're one of the big.
Normalement, le 26 100, étant donné que c'est un niveau, 26 100 est un niveau, un chiffron, un niveau psychologique. Normalement, tant qu'on ne le casse pas, on peut voilà, se promener entre la zone des 26 100 et 26 200. Si on casse 26 100, on peut se diriger tout droit vers 26 000. Voilà. Donc, il y a un obstacle a priori ici. Voilà pourquoi j'avais mis mon take profit ici. Donc, j'attends certainement un retracement dans la zone des 26 175, 180 pour pouvoir reshorter. Donc, j'attends que le marché revienne chercher la zone orange ici pour pouvoir reshorter, pour aller chercher plus bas. Parce que ici, c'est un niveau un peu... c'est un niveau de momentum intermédiaire. Donc, du coup, quand on a cassé, on peut le retravailler encore assez souvent. Donc, si je me positionne ici, ça serait un peu risqué parce qu'il y aura peut-être assez de volatilité là-dessus. Donc, pour être plus sûr, je vais attendre justement qu'on vienne chercher la ligne orange qui est à 26 185 ou la zone entre 26 185 et 26 175 pour pouvoir rentrer à la vente pour aller chercher les 26 100, le dernier niveau en fait, c'est-à-dire ici, là où le marché s'était arrêté. À moins qu'on le casse directement 26 100, là je vais me positionner également à la baisse pour aller chercher encore plus bas 26 000. Voilà. Donc j'attends. Si cette opportunité n'arrive pas dans les... Voilà, ça fait déjà 22 minutes qu'on est ensemble. Si ça n'arrive pas jusqu'à, on va dire, dans 23 minutes, donc à 45, dans 45 minutes, je vais bien sûr couper la vidéo et je vais arrêter ma session pour aujourd'hui. Je suis déjà en gain de $150. Ça ne vaut pas la peine de risquer bêtement pour remettre ce que j'ai gagné. Donc, je vais juste attendre que le marché me donne mon signal pour pouvoir prendre la position.
The U.S. is ramping up the pressure on alleged Russian interference in the 2016 election. The Treasury Department released a list of 210 of the country's richest tycoons and allies of President Vladimir Putin. The government says it's not a sanctions list, but just being on it could persuade banks to refuse to do business with the person. And that limited inventory of houses for sales is still having an impact on prices. Home prices in 20 large U.S. cities rose in November by the most in more than 3 years. According to S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller data, property values increased 6.4% over the previous year. That's 3 times the rate of inflation. Global news 24 hours a day, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Kayla Riggs. This is Bloomberg. Mark?
Taylor, thanks. Right, coming up here on Bloomberg Markets, caution creeps into the market. Mike Ryan of UBS Wealth Management joins us to discuss the dangers lurking below the market surface. This is Bloomberg.
A priori, marché vraiment pression baissière continue. Donc, comme je vous ai dit, le niveau qui sépare la ligne grise entre, c'est-à-dire cette zone des 26 125, 26 130, ainsi que 26 150, 26 160. C'est une zone en fait qu'il faut éviter. Le meilleur point d'entrée pour shorter, c'est au niveau des 26 185, 26 175, 185. C'est un excellent point de short. Ou attendre la cassure et la clôture en dessous des 26 100 pour continuer le mouvement, le momentum baissier. Mais sinon, à ce niveau-là, c'est un peu ça. On va certainement le retravailler, le recasser. Donc, en termes de scalping, c'est faisable, mais avec justement le slippage qu'on a et puis le spread qu'on a, il est difficile de travailler comme ça. Vous aviez vu tout à l'heure, on a pris presque 30 points. On a pris environ 30 points, donc j'attends vraiment des bons points d'entrée pour pouvoir me positionner.
We have breaking news now. You're watching Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin speaking before the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing and Urban Development.
Ça peut être un peu ennuyant de rester là à ne rien faire devant l'écran, mais c'est ça aussi le trading. Il faut être très patient et il ne faut pas chasser n'importe quel mouvement que vous voyez parce que vous pouvez vous faire avoir.
By Republicans and Democrats on that committee, including Richard Shelby, Sherrod Brown, Elizabeth Warren, Tom Tillis, Chris Van Hollen. There will surely be some updates, and we'll bring them to you.
By increasing the statutory debt limit.
Now, a recession, a monetary misstep, extreme valuation, and exogenous shock. They're just some of the factors that could derail this bull market, according to UBS Wealth Management. Joining us now from his office in New York is Mike Ryan, Chief Investment Officer for the Americas at UBS Wealth Management. Mike, they're not all 25% odds. Which one would you be most concerned with right now?
Look, I do think what we are focused on is the fact that the economy is on firm footing now. We've clearly seen markets respond to the positive impact from tax reform. But I think some of the things that will probably be areas of concern will be, first of all, the Fed is still in the process of resetting rates. We're going through this policy normalization process. Obviously, this is an uneven process, one where it's interpretive, and the Fed will have to continue to monitor conditions on the ground. In addition to that, what we've seen certainly over the course of the last couple of months or so, as markets have reached new highs, there's some concerns about valuation. That is, are markets now reaching levels where additional gains from here will require incrementally better news. So I think valuation is becoming, again, it's not overly alarming to us, but I think it's something that's a focus for the market. And then lastly, obviously, I think that the most recent backup in rates, I think it's raised some concerns that could we begin to see now bonds become more competitive relative to stocks, as that differential between what you can earn on the bond market and what you can earn on the stock market begins to narrow a bit. Those are kind of the things I think you're seeing focused on right now. And that's, I think, why the market's chopping around a little bit. Remember, we're coming off an extraordinary period of really low volatility, and we've gone now 400 trading days without a correction of more than 5%. That's really, we haven't seen that in 60 years. So it's not surprising then that some of these anxieties are starting to creep in and starting to have an impact on the markets.
Mike, we had a guest on yesterday, Patrick Spencer from Baird, who he's very bullish, but his warning signal was the US 10-year yield at 3%. Is there a yield level, which would make you even more wary of this equity market rally that could prompt maybe a sell-off?
Well, I do think if we got materially above 3% mark, then I would be more concerned about it. But I think it also depends on how we get there. You know, for example, if we see that rates are rising because it's an impulse because of stronger growth, because we're seeing better dynamics in terms of not just the U.S. but also a broadening of global growth dynamics, I'd probably be a little less concerned about that. If it was more because
donc, a priori, on est en train de casser 26 100, qui est excellent. Voilà, là on accélère, vous voyez. 26 100 était un niveau assez particulier, donc là on l'a cassé. Donc on va chercher maintenant à se positionner encore à la vente.
So it's not just the magnitude or the direction of rates, but it's also the reasons or the catalysts behind those rate increases.
Mike, infrastructure is an area we're very focused on with tonight's State of the Union in particular. What are the opportunities UBS sees in the next 12 to 18 months in infrastructure?
Well, first of all, it's interesting because we did our Investor Watch, just came out, and two really important takeaways were, first of all, there's near uniformity of opinion and views right now that we need infrastructure. You know, if you think about the state of the U.S. Infrastructure, in fact, the American Society of Civil Engineers gave us a C- for the grading of our public infrastructure. So clearly we're needing an upgrade.
And the opportunities?
The opportunities are basically the private sector can engage here. You think about it through not only in terms of traditional infrastructure, highways, roads, transportation networks, ports, but also in terms of improving access to broadband, the issues about making technology more readily available.
All right, Mike Ryan, we have to leave it there. UBS Wealth Management, thank you for joining. This is Bloomberg.
Donc là, je suis rentré, on m'a exécuté en même temps. Code du sniper, comme je vous ai dit. Tout à l'heure, je suis rentré et puis on m'a exécuté un coup. Donc, parce que mes stops sont très proches comme je travaille en scalping. Mais à cause du sniper aussi, ça joue et aussi à cause du spread. Sinon, en temps normal, je n'allais pas être exécuté. J'aurais le temps de pouvoir bien ajuster mes trucs. Mais c'est pas grave. C'était un bon point d'entrée. Donc là, j'attends juste que le marché continue donc sa lancée. Puis je vais protéger cette position.
This is Bloomberg Markets. I'm Mark Barton from London.
And from New York, I'm Bonnie Quinn. President Trump is set for his first State of the Union address tonight before a joint session of Congress. It's expected he'll highlight his successes so far and look ahead to some of the big legislative priorities for his second year in office, including immigration and infrastructure.
Donc là, je vais le protéger ma position. Si le marché revient retaper mon niveau, je suis rentré, je vais me repositionner, c'est pas grave. Puisqu'on a un scalping. Sinon, ben, je le laisse et je le regarde courir.
Well, some lawmakers not attending tonight, but the overwhelming majority of them will be. The president looking to stick to the teleprompter, Vonnie, and more in line with the speech that we saw last week in Davos. According to White House administration officials, the president will seek to give a unifying message as he talks about the successes, what he feels, of his first year in office, most notably the stock market, as well as passing tax reform and the revitalization efforts that we've seen from businesses.
Bon, on m'a invalidé. Je vais me repositionner encore.
On the flip side of that, he'll make his case for the future on a host of issues ranging from infrastructure, deregulatory policies, national security with particular interest to Iran and that agreement, trade policy in particular. We noticed last week he started the week with washing machines and solar panels, increasing tariffs, and then concluded in Davos, Bonnie, where he made a much more conciliatory tone to Davos.
So, Kevin, if it's going to be a reaching across the aisle type of State of the Union, a bipartisan, effort, how will the Democratic response be then? And there's more than one progressive response. There's 5, in fact, including the official one from Joe Kennedy, but also Bernie Sanders is going to be speaking and others too.
I think that's really interesting point that you just touched on there, Bonnie, is that Senator Bernie Sanders, the progressive leader of sorts of the the far left, so to speak, deciding that he's going to give a speech of his own in contrast to Congressman Joe Kennedy, someone, of course, the official.
On peut avoir un rebond de court terme, dans le sens que, puisqu'on a cassé la ligne des 26 100, mais on n'a pas clôturé en dessous. Bon, en 5 minutes, ça n'a pas été fait, mais si par exemple en 1 heure, on le fait ou bien en 15 minutes, a priori, on devrait avoir un mouvement baissier de long terme, mais de court et moyen terme. Mais tant qu'on ne sera pas en dessous de 26 100, on va continuer toujours à faire des va-et-vient entre cette zone-là.
To those outside his core base. Might today's State of the Union address try and change that dynamic?
I'll keep this quick. It's really up to him. He's going to try to give a unifying message, but quite frankly, when you've got 5 Democrat responses planned, I think that says enough.
Our thanks to Kevin Cirilli. It's going to be a long day. He will be on Capitol Hill tonight. He is our chief Washington correspondent. Be sure to tune in for that special coverage of President Trump's first State of the Union address that begins at 9 Eastern. Still ahead. Tensions between the U.S. and Russia heating up again today as the Trump administration publishes a sweeping list of Kremlin elites. More on the story next. This is Bloomberg.
Donc, je suis proche de me faire stopper. Bon, première perte, donc je vais attendre que le marché... donc cette zone, c'est pour ça que je vous ai dit, cette zone est très difficile à travailler. Je vais attendre que le marché arrive sur des bons niveaux, par exemple aux alentours des, disons, 26 150, 26 160 pour encore réinitier un short, pour aller chercher justement le plus bas. Même si les 26 000 ont été cassés, mais on n'a pas clôturé en dessous, donc c'est un peu problématique. Il peut y avoir des rebonds de court terme comme on voit. Mais je reste toujours baissier sur le dos aujourd'hui. En tout cas, dans telle que cette configuration m'est présentée. Et puis après ça, je vais donc chercher à un point également à ces alentours-là, 26 160, 26 150, pour pouvoir reshorter et pour viser plus bas. Ça fait actuellement 38 minutes que nous sommes ensemble. Nous sommes inversés de momentum. Pour rentrer à l'achat, si je dois rentrer à l'achat, je vais attendre qu'on casse la ligne orange, vraiment pour rentrer ici dans cette zone. Mais tant qu'on est en dessous de la ligne orange, qui est 26 185, je serai tout de même baissier. Donc je vais attendre que cette bougie soit se clôture ou bien me montre en fait
I'm Bloomberg News White
le
House
véritable,
reporter Justin
la
Singh
véritable
in
impulsion qu'il y a
Washington,
derrière.
D.C. President Donald Trump is set to give his first State of the Union address on Tuesday, one of his last best chances to win over more of the American public to his national agenda ahead of a midterm elections that will be a referendum on his tumultuous administration. White House officials say the president will dial back his signature combative posture, instead framing his policy proposals from immigration to infrastructure as areas where Democrats and Republicans can work together. That's a recognition that Trump will enter the House chamber Tuesday night as one of the least popular modern presidents to ever deliver his first State of the Union speech. Trump averaged just a 38% approval rating over his first year in office, according to Gallup. It's also a nod to the legislative constraints he faces after passing the $1.5 trillion tax bill projected to balloon the federal deficit. That's put fiscal hawks in Congress on alert and eliminated Senate Republicans' ability to use reconciliation, a process whereby they need just 50 votes to pass legislation. As a result, any new bills will require a significant number of Democrats to cross the aisle. Given that, Trump plans to frame his infrastructure and immigration plans as a template for bipartisan cooperation, and he'll also look to find common ground on issues like fighting the nation's opioid epidemic. The White House said Monday that a guest in the First Lady's box will include a New Mexico police officer who adopted a baby from parents who suffered from addiction. Others invited by the White House include
Donc là, on semble vraiment avoir l'impulsion. La ligne orange est en train d'être brisée. Donc on a invalidé le seuil de 26 100. Il y a eu, il n'y a pas une clôture en dessous, mais il y a eu juste une simple cassure, donc un genre de bear trap pour avoir un rebond à court terme. On va voir si ça va se poursuivre. Donc, a priori, si on clôture au-dessus de la ligne orange, ça sera une bonne opportunité pour entrer à l'achat. Vous le voyez ici sur la lagging span a fait un V bottom. Donc ça, c'est a priori un rebond de court terme. On va voir si ça va être confirmé. Si c'est confirmé, je vais rechercher donc la S2 plus haut ici. Donc je vais payer le dos à 26 200 pour aller chercher jusqu'à 26 252. Donc il y a pas mal, entre 30 et 50 points à aller chercher.
Yes, that's exactly right, Mark. I mean, essentially, the fact that the list was so wide-ranging, it included every single Russian billionaire and every single top Russian official, excluding Vladimir Putin. And the interpretation here was that the Trump administration isn't serious about going down this road, that they're not going to sanction any of these people.
The non-say on bonds was significant, wasn't it? No details on that separate report on the effect of expanding sanctions to Russian sovereign debt, and the bond market has reacted accordingly. So has that put those concerns to bed?
Yes, more or less. I mean, the market basically does not expect any restrictions on U.S. investments in Russian sovereign debt. So that, too, was also welcomed here.
Does it change anything, Henry? Are these people able to do business around the world as they were before?
Look, I mean, I don't think any one of those people are happy to be on that list. So despite what I said about the expectation that there won't be any sanctions against them, you know, potentially in the future they might face problems. So there is, you know, the concern that certain institution banks in the US and in Europe might become more reluctant to deal with them.
Are all of these oligarchs friends of Putin right now, Henry?
No, I mean, I don't think you could say that. It's not fair to say that every single Russian billionaire, you know, has special ties to the Kremlin. Some of them do. Of course, if you want to do business in Russia, you have to have good ties with the authorities, or you have to have a working relationship with them.
Ok, donc on a clôturé au-dessus. C'est bon signe, donc je vais chercher à payer.
Henry, for Russia to press the retaliatory measures button. It seems as if today wasn't enough to prompt that.
That's right. I mean, Putin said that they would wait. Essentially, if actual sanctions are applied against any of the people on this list, that's when you could see some form of retaliation. But at the moment, it's just a list of names, and there's been no action taken by the US. So there's really nothing to respond to.
Yeah, they did comment, of course, that the Trump administration, Putin's spokesman said, was using the measure to try and influence the election on March the 18th. How's the campaign going, Henry?
Well, it's virtually non-existent. I mean, Putin is assured re-election, and there is no real competition. His spokesman even said so the other day. So really, yeah, there is a total absence of any campaign.
Henry, thanks for joining us. Great stuff, Henry Mayer there, joining us from Moscow today. Vonnie.
Voilà, donc j'ai payé pour aller viser justement le niveau ici qui est donc la zone du S2, donc au niveau de 26 245. Donc j'ai payé le double.
The estimated value of those settlements is more than $107 billion. There's a report that the U.S. and Qatar have ended a years-old fight over alleged government subsidies to Persian Gulf Airlines. According to the Associated Press, state-owned Qatar Airways will agree to open up its books for inspection. U.S.-owned airlines claim Persian Gulf carriers get billions of dollars in subsidies that give them an unfair advantage. The Trump administration is making it tougher for refugees to come to the U.S. from so-called high-risk countries. Additional screening and vetting will be applied to those from 11 countries. Those countries haven't been named, but last year's 11-nation refugee ban mostly targeted predominantly Muslim countries. And in the UK, Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn has told business executives he's keeping his options open on Brexit. According to one person at a meeting last night, Corbyn said the party would rule out nothing except for a second referendum. Among those attending were 5 people from the UK's biggest business lobbies. Global news 24 hours a day, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Taylor Riggs. This is Bloomberg. Bonnie?
Taylor, thank you. I want to show you the performance of the majors right now. We're seeing a more than 1% decline for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's the second day of declines. We're off the lows of the day now, down 0.9% for the Dow, 244 points. The worst performer, United Health Group on the Amazon, Berkshire, JP Morgan news. Pfizer also down 3%. In the S&P 500, we're seeing a drop of 0.8%. Again, Express Scripts, one of the worst performers there, down almost 9%. Cigna, Walgreens, Boots Alliance, and CVS are all down around 5% or so. We'll keep an eye. The VIX is headed towards 15 today. This is Bloomberg.
Il y a peut-être un regain de confiance de la part des acheteurs, puisqu'on n'a pas cassé le seuil symbolique des 26 100. Donc, il peut y avoir un mouvement d'impulsion aussi. C'est ça que j'essaie de profiter. Je viens de protéger ma position. Donc, si on revient retaper ce niveau, je vais sortir un léger gain, voire quasi nul. Sinon, je reste dans la position pour profiter donc de cette variation, de ce flux entrant haussier. Donc, ça fait 50 minutes que nous sommes ensemble. Je vais bientôt arrêter la séance, on va dire dans 10 minutes. Donc, ça va faire une heure de live scalping. Donc là, on hésite à partir dans le sens de la tendance de fond. On revient retester le niveau où j'avais mis mon stop. Donc, on va peut-être m'exécuter, donc m'invalider. Bon, c'est fait. Donc, j'ai été invalidé. J'attends donc de me repositionner, peut-être. Sinon, je vais arrêter cette séance.
Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan tie-up will look like and what companies it might potentially disrupt. We're also seeing Harley Davidson down more than 7% in the S&P 500. The VIX again above 14 today and the 10-year yield at 2.71%. Well, it's time for a stock of the hour and also lower among stocks that are lower today. Shares of McDonald's. It's on pace for its worst day of the year, despite beating estimates. That's just down 0.25% here, Abigail Doolittle, but at the same time, we should keep watch.
Yes, we should, because earlier the stock had been down more than 1%, coming back a little bit with the markets overall. They put up a very strong quarter. They beat estimates right across the board. Comp sales came in up 5.5%. The estimate had been for a move up for 5%. So again, very strong results. And this really reflects CEO Steve Easterbrook's turnaround strategy that's been in place for quite some time now, where he is using very aggressive pricing. So investors liking the results in terms of the beat, but something they might not like, growth. If we hop into the Bloomberg and take a look at the financial analysis function here on McDonald's relative to sales, we see that the growth on a year-over-year basis simply declining. That's been a longer-term trend. Investors may want more of that, but relative to that winning strategy, Bonnie, beyond the aggressive pricing, it has to do with technology. Apparently, there's now self-ordering kiosks in McDonald's. You can also order online and pay there, and you also have a more diverse menu. I was at McDonald's about 2 months ago for the first time in maybe a decade, and I was shocked by all of the healthy options on that menu. So
yes, but does breakfast still cut off at the same time, even with these machines?
Well, I will see about that.
What is Steve Easterbrook doing otherwise?
Well, yeah, the technology is a big piece of it for certain, along with that diverse menu that we were just talking about. And the interesting thing in terms of the aggressive pricing, Bonnie, is with these strong results coming out of McDonald's, it really suggests that some of the competitors may do less well. In fact, a lot of the competitors today are down. Yum, which owns Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, some other companies, along with Wendy's and Jack in the Box. Relative to the stock, as you mentioned, it's come back a little bit. But if we take a look at it over the last year, we're going to see the shares are up in a really huge way, up more than 40%. So big gain. Maybe price to perfection. Valuation is pretty strong. And this chart here in the Bloomberg, G#BTV721, may suggest that if the weakness continues today, if the shares don't reverse the earlier decline, we could see the stock drop back down toward its 100-day moving average, as happened last year. But overall, good results in place.
Abigail Doolittle, thank you, with our stock of the hour.
Bonnie, let's talk about Wynn Macau. Officials with Wynn Macau say they're cooperating with regulators after the government of the Chinese territory voiced concerns over sexual harassment.
Donc ça sera ma dernière position de cette session. Je ne sens pas donc le mouvement baissier prendre de la hauteur sur cette impulsion baissière précédente parce que comme vous le voyez, on titille donc la ligne orange que j'ai tracée ici. Il n'y a pas vraiment de pression vendeuse. Donc, je suis rentré à l'achat, étant donné également qu'on a clôturé au-dessus des 26 200. Donc, je crois à un regain des acheteurs. Et je vais rester donc dans cette position. Et on va voir l'issue de cette position.
I know that Japan, Brian, is opening up casino resorts. So could the repercussions of this be felt beyond Macau?
Là, on a clôturé en dessous de la ligne orange. Donc, a priori, c'est pas trop top. on risque peut-être de venir me stopper, puisque 26 185 est quasiment retravaillé à plusieurs reprises.
In its review of next steps pertaining to the Massachusetts property that Wynn will open up there in 2019.
Now, Brian, how might Wynn Resorts, that part of the business, respond?
So that's a very good question. The board of directors is the final arbiter as to what the next steps will be, and they will very likely be looking at what regulators are going to do. Entities like the Massachusetts Gaming Commission are certainly looking at issues of what might happen, although I would say, and this is based on Bloomberg Intelligence's litigation team, we don't think there's that much risk to a license revocation in a place like Massachusetts. Typically, regulators have looked at things like either financial misconduct or felony convictions or omissions or lies, not to personal misconduct, but there could be an outside scenario under which things like personal conduct play into the thinking of a regulator in Massachusetts.
Any word from Wynn's office or from Wynn himself?
Voilà, comme je savais, donc j'ai été stoppé, donc 2 pertes. Alors donc ça va être tout pour cette séance. C'est une séance décevante. J'avais bien commencé et puis voilà, finalement je me suis effondré. Il y a des jours comme ça, c'est pas grave, ça arrive. En tout cas, merci d'avoir suivi cette émission. Je crois que ça va vous donc donner de l'enseignement et ça va vous apporter des améliorations sur votre trading pour ceux qui sont débutants ou intermédiaires. Il y a des journées comme ça. Donc le trading, les pertes font partie du trading. N'hésitez pas donc à commenter, à laisser vos commentaires, vos critiques également. Ça me ferait rien plaisir de lire et puis aussi de tenir compte. Sinon, n'hésitez pas à vous abonner à la chaîne donc, YouTube donc, du Global Street Trader Academy ou de Facebook GSTA, ou aussi de consulter notre site web pour d'amples informations concernant les formations, les encadrements et tout ça pour le trading. Merci encore d'avoir suivi cette émission et passez une très belle journée. Au revoir.